51-year-old Jonathan Fleming of Brooklyn, a free man tonight, locked up for 24 years after, it turns out, wrongfully being convicted of a murder case. Now, his case was reopened and evidence in the case cleared him of the crime. Fleming, just one of many here who got burnt by, it seems, a crooked system. Brooklyn's Conviction Review Unit has reopened at least 50 cases that were all overseen by a former detective, Louis Garcia. He has been dubbed Shady. That was the tag, or at least the character he was known as, for even fixing cases, tainting evidence, and even making up witnesses. Guys, what do you think here? Explain this, and I know the public, when they see this, they say, hey, wait a minute, this stuff must happen more often than we think. You've been, as I said, both sides of this. You've been DAs before. Is that all it takes? One rogue detective here to, or does this happen more than we believe it does?
Well, you see over the last 10 years with the DNA exonerations, and you know, there's always the DNA exoneration, and then you look back into the case and you have witnesses coming forward and saying that they were coerced into giving testimony or secret deals were made with them. I mean, but this guy seems to be a very serious bad seed. This is horrible.
But you know, a lot of times these corrupt cops don't act alone. Look, you know, the Supreme Court said a number of years ago the prosecutors have an affirmative obligation to turn over to the defense exculpatory or favorable evidence. In this case, this fellow who served 24 years for a crime he didn't commit, in the district attorney's possession was a telephone receipt showing that at the time the murder was allegedly committed, he was in Orlando, Florida. He could not have committed the crime. That evidence was suppressed. It was never turned over to the defense, ever. And now that this conviction has been set aside and he's been freed, how do you give a guy back 24 years of his life?
But we have to
and people would be shocked, I'm not going to get into math right now, at what these guys walk away with. Forget about that they lost their lives, in many cases lost their families, and their earning power going forward and everything else. The compensation they get is just unbelievable.
You can't compensate, but the insidious nature of this, to add to what Bill is saying, they were arguing. This guy, there's one case out there where the guy was in Florida that you're talking about. The people argued he had the time to fly from Orlando to New York to commit the crime and fly back, while at the same time they've got a receipt in their file saying he's on the telephone in Orlando while they're arguing he could fly there and back.
When we talk about 24 years, I would ask viewers to just take a breath and ask themselves, can they imagine themselves locked up in a cage for 24 years for a crime they didn't commit, all because some prosecutor was more interested in getting a conviction than seeing justice done?
Well, try a month. Try a month behind bars. 24 years is unfathomable.
You know, we go to jail all the time to see clients. I'm telling you, I'm in there for an hour and a half. Yeah. That seems like a lifetime during that hour and a half when I'm there.
I've been to events at Sing Sing many times over the years, and graduations and stuff. You can't. I know the public can appreciate this too. I want to save time here for a story about the good Reverend Al. Stay with us. We're going to talk about that after this.